What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and today's video takes us back 5 years to 2018 for the release of Kanye and Kid Cudi's joint album, Kidsseeghosts, one of my favorite albums. Now today we're going to be taking a look at the merch that surrounded this release, as well as the history of the collaboration. Now, if you didn't know, Cudi and Kanye go back years, and I'm talking their first interaction was all the way back in 2004, and although the two have been beefing over the last couple of years, personally, I think the pairing is amazing, and shout out to Cudi one time, I know he gets a lot of hate lately. Now, if you're a Kanye fan or you've kept up with him at all throughout the years, you know that his album release dates are always subject to change. So when he tweeted that the album was dropping on June 8th, I had my reservations and doubts. But Cudi then tweeted the album cover and I was really geeked about it. Now if it looks familiar, it's because it is. And it was designed by none other than Takashi Murakami, the man responsible for this legendary graduation album cover. Now if you didn't know, just a couple of days ago I dropped the review of Kanye's Wyoming/Yeezy merch, so I thought it was only right that we followed up with the Kidsseeghosts merch, given that it released 1 week later. And as always, shout out to all of you guys that recommend what you'd like to see in the comments, because you never know when yours is up next. And I truly appreciate all of you that check out these videos, and thank you for cooking with the kitchen. Now, as for this Kidsseeghosts merch, it's pretty dope on a lot of levels. If you couldn't tell, this collaboration is actually multifaceted in the fact that not only is this a Kid Cudi and Kanye collaboration, not only is this a Takashi Murakami collaboration from the artwork, but it's also a collaboration with the late and great Virgil Abloh, who actually collaborated with Takashi Murakami on some of these pieces. And if you couldn't tell, the influence is definitely in the writing that's under the artwork there. And I'm actually going to show you guys a little bit later in this video a review of this exact hoodie that I actually picked up from the release. Now, another thing I did want to point out is the fact that all of these items from this release, as well as Kanye's Ye merch release, all came with a copy of the album in the digital format, which basically helped inflate the album sales. Now, like I mentioned, I did actually get this piece, and when I posted it to IG, Takashi Murakami himself liked the post. And personally, for me back in 2018, and even looking back at it now 5 years later, it was actually inspirational as hell to keep going, so I hope all of you guys keep pushing as well. Now, the most expensive piece from this initial Kidsseeghosts drop is this jacket right here that retails for $150. And although it does seem a bit low effort to just slap the album art cover on the back of the jacket, I personally really dig it, and I would have probably picked it up myself if it weren't so damn hot here in Florida. And of course, to wrap up this first wave of Kidsseeghosts merch, they had to include this random piece of Ye merch as well. I don't know if it was necessarily an accident, and I think it kind of makes sense given that the albums released within 1 week of each other, but I do think it's kind of silly the fact that they had Ye album merch for the Kidsseeghosts merch drop, and let me know in the comments if you agree. Now, of course, with any great album release, you do have the vinyl and the cassette and the digital and things like that that are available, and this drop was no different, minus, of course, the cassette. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that $15 for the vinyl is extremely reasonable when nowadays most of these pieces start at $40 or $50. And personally, I ended up picking up the Ye vinyl. And next up, I just wanted to show this photo of the trio of Murakami the artist, Kanye, and Kid Cudi. Kanye's actually wearing that jacket I mentioned earlier, and the three were part of something legendary. Now, for another legendary trio, you might be wondering why we're looking at a photo of Tyler the Creator, Kanye, and Cudi again. And if you didn't know, in November of 2018, Tyler invited the duo to perform at his annual music festival, Camp Flog Gnaw. It was a legendary performance in which the two were performing in this suspended box all the way above the stage, and the fans were treated to both songs from both Kanye, Cudi, and Kidsseeghosts. Now you might be wondering why I'm featuring it, and it's actually because of these pieces right here. Now, both at the festival itself and online, these Camp Flog Gnaw, Cactus Plant Flea Market, and Kidsseeghosts collaboration pieces released. Some of the retail pieces were pretty steep, and a lot of people were not happy about paying upwards of $300 for some of these long sleeves and crew necks, but as you can see, the quality on them is actually great. And if you're not familiar, Cactus Plant Flea Market has been in the game for quite a bit. They're a legendary streetwear company that's done a lot of collaborations with artists, especially as of late. Now, in terms of the Kidsseeghosts merch, this is probably my favorite piece right here, despite not being able to own it. But as you can see from these next few photos, Kanye was definitely a fan of the collaboration and was spotted wearing it multiple times. Now, like I pointed out earlier in this video and every single merch video that I do, I always think it's so important and so sick for artists to actually wear the merch. In my opinion, if they don't like it themselves, then why should we like it as fans? Now, Kanye has definitely been an influencer in every aspect of his life, from music to fashion to sneakers and more. So I think the fact that he actually wore this merch often, as well as his other album merch during those releases, is super powerful. Now, personally, although I did really appreciate the Murakami pieces that we had as part of the first wave, if you will, of this kidseeghosts merch, I really like these Camp Flog Gnaw pieces despite not being actually at the event. And although I wasn't there, I wouldn't mind actually picking it up. And I would love to know in the comments which wave of this merch do you guys prefer? Did you like the original pieces that just kind of featured the artwork from the album? Or do you guys like the second wave, which features this cactus plant flea market themed merch? Now, personally, you can see a lot more effort was put into these pieces with phrases like "I see ghosts" or "I believe in ghosts," which of course has to do with the theme of the album being kidseeghosts. And while doing my research for this video, I did notice that a lot of the prices for resale were actually quite expensive, with this piece right here being the most expensive, with the last sale around $550. Now, I know throughout the years the two have fallen out, but personally this kidseeghost era was super legendary in my opinion, and we got some great music out of it. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I did actually get my hands on one of these pieces, so I did want to show you guys this in conclusion to this video, just so you guys can see how far the merch has come, as well as what it looked like in real life. Now, like I mentioned, this first wave was interesting because it was a collaboration also featuring my boy Virgil Abloh, the creator of Off-White, and as you can see, that influence is definitely there. Now, the disappointing thing about this drop is the fact that these pieces were printed on Gildan, which, if you didn't know, is notorious for having some of the worst merch quality in the game. However, in recent years, it has gotten a bit better. Now, one thing I did want to point out about the Ye video, as well as some of that Camp Flog Gnaw merch, is that it's definitely printed on better pieces and better quality. And you can tell just looking at the mock-ups from the second wave that we just looked at, that Camp Flog Gnaw merch, that the quality of the crew necks was going to be thicker, heavier, and just overall better. Now, I did fast forward this video, but I did want to point out that the quality of the actual graphics and screen printing was great and nothing was off-center. Now, the coolest thing, again, is the fact that Virgil worked on this, because if you didn't know, back in 2018, Off-White was definitely at its peak and its hype, and the fact that all three of them were friends and able to come together and really do this was super inspiring. Now, if you didn't see from that sneaker I just featured on the photo, that was, of course, the Off-White Jordan 1 UNC collaboration, which features the same kind of description, if you will, on the inside of the actual sneaker. Now, with all that being said, again, I can't get enough of this collaboration, and it's honestly one of my favorite albums. I know Kanye has said some crazy things over the last few years, which I don't condone, but personally, the way he's able to be so creative and push the envelope has definitely kept me a fan. And if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and let me know your favorite song off of the album in the comments, and if you picked up any of the merch. As always, guys, thank you so much for cooking with the kitchen. I appreciate every single one of you that watches these videos and supports the channel. Got some more heat on the way, of course. And as always, stay safe out here, guys. It's lit. Straight up. And peace.